How's it going, guys? My name is Stone, and welcome to these reviews, or welcome back if it's not your first time here. Today, I'm going to be talking about one of the most bizarre psych albums to have come out of 1967, Winds of Change by Eric Burdon and the Animals. This would be the first album to feature the new incarnation of the Animals, as everyone but Burdon and Barry Jenkins left the band in 1966. This would reshape them into an ambitious psych group that drew inspiration from George Harrison, Jimi Hendrix, and Ravi Shankar, to name a few. Its bizarreness makes for a very entertaining listen, which of course depends on how much you like your music to be soaked in 60s psychedelia, because this album is just drenched in it. I'd even say it's a bit self-indulgent at times with how trippy it's trying to be, and kind of reminds me of bands I like, kind of like 50 Foot Hose and Joe Bird, if you all are familiar with them. But even though I kind of did say it's a bit self-indulgent, I'd still say this is a great record that I enjoy. I'm glad it's in my collection. It took a while to find it, but I just love its sense of swirling psychedelic rock that seems to have a lot of variety through the track listing. So it doesn't get too crazy. Only some moments that I do feel like it's a bit not too wild, but definitely maybe not for all ears. It opens with a strong trilogy of songs that kind of blend into each other very nicely. The first being the title track, Winds of Change. This creates a very hazy and swirling psychedelic trip for the listener, with its combination of sitar and electric violin being very effective in creating this druggy sound, which is expanded upon through its melodic bass and real snappy drums. While I do think the lyrics to the song are very dated to what was going on in the 60s, I still find it to be very entertaining just because I'm a guy who likes a lot of 60s psych rock. And I just like all the references he makes, talking about Chuck Berry, Duke Ellington, Frank Zappa, and then he kind of skipped it there, but he's like, then came the Beatles, Rolling Stone, which is one of my favorite parts. Just a little niche moment, but though I think he would make cooler references in the track Monterey, I still think that the song's atmosphere is much trippier and carries some of the best qualities of 60s psych. So I think it's a strong opener and definitely one of the best songs on the album. Things continue to remain eerie with the following track, Poem by the Sea, which is a lot more melodic and accessible in my opinion. It maintains a constant beat that allows Eric to sing some nice lyrics over, which the lyrics kind of remind me of thoughts one would have if they were like high at the beach or something. Not to say that Eric was high when he was writing these lyrics, but again, I don't think I'd be that surprised if that was true. Its use of sound effects really illustrate the sounds of a raging sea, though, which kind of puts yourself in Eric's shoes very well. Or for me, the image I paint in my head is just like him at the beach, kind of reading off poetry while there's like a huge hurricane going on. Kind of has that image to me, and I think I like how, I don't know, it could kind of draw that image for itself, or whatever the listener comes to mind with, I guess. I really also love its cloudy and freaky atmosphere, or not atmosphere, it's outro, and how it transitions into the only cover on this album very nicely. That cover being, of course, Painted Black by the Rolling Stones. I find their rendition of Painted Black to be working in their favor for the most part, as they allowed the song to take up more space and paint a more colorful image, mostly due to the extra lyrics that I personally think express a similar outlook to the original song. With everything being backed by a great rhythm section, this song just keeps such a steady progression that never loses my interest whatsoever. And for it being 6 minutes long, I really love its jammy intro and how it goes from that all the way to the explosive ending, which just makes it so powerful. It's very bombastic. I really love it, and definitely, if they had one cover on here, it was a good choice to make it this song because it really works in their favor. We then arrive to the track, The Black Plague, which I'd say is a real hit or miss for people. With this also being 6 minutes long, the song contains what I consider to be the darkest atmosphere and the darkest lyrics from this record. Its chants and instrumentations creates a real creepy vibe that can give people chills up their spines. I mean, I know it does for me, and especially if you're loaded listening to this. Like I've been I've been to Mars checking out this song, and I remember just keep turning my back just because it gives you that vibe, like something creepy's going on. Which, of course, the lyrics are telling a story about rich folk locking themselves up in a castle, afraid of the Black Plague, and just poor people, I guess, lying to them. And then they end up dying because they're just struck by their own fear, and it pretty much kills them. So it's a pretty dark story, but it works. Or the music going behind it, it's a perfect combination, basically. Though the lyrics are merely spoken, yeah, they tell a great story, and I think I like the fact that things go silent like 4 minutes into the track, and then you kind of just hear Eric t- rounding the story off, basically. And though I do think that this is not an accessible track by any means, I know I didn't like it at all when I first heard it. And like I said, this is the one of two tracks I think is a bit self-indulgent. I still really like what they were going for, and I think it's a good middle piece to side one, I guess. Definitely not something you'd want to open or close an album with. But yeah, we suddenly transition from something like that to the heavy rocker I Am Experience, which is a song that was made as a response to Jimi Hendrix's Are You Experience, which I think is kind of funny. Though I find the guitar to be badly mixed a little, I adore this track so much and just how much energy it has. Like, I love again how snappy the drums are and the violin riff, the guitar solo, and just the way Eric constantly repeats the word experience towards the end. It's just one of those acid slash garage rock songs that has such a thrilling feel to it that retains a trippy atmosphere, but is still much more garage rock than psych. But I like that balance with this album. So that wraps up side one. And while I do think the first side is the most experimental and exploratory, I could see why many people were probably turned off by the band's sense of psych music. Fortunately, side 2 is actually filled with a lot more accessible tracks, which in turn make it a much easier experience, or satisfying listen, I should say. Side 2 opens with the band's biggest hit, San Franciscan Nights, where it was a top 10, or it was in the top 10 singles charts for several countries. It opens with a rather bewildering warning by Eric, in which he tells the listener to visit San Francisco in order to get the song's imagery. It then jumps into the actual song, which is a lovely acoustic ballad that has such a mellow atmosphere to it and a wonderful vocal performance. Um, I just find it to be one of the most easygoing songs on this album. And I wonder how many people were thrown off by the song. Or not by the song, but when they purchased this album thinking there'd be more songs like this. But instead they were given stuff like Winds of Change, The Black Plague, and then the song that follows, San Francisco Nights, Man, Woman. Now, to move on to that track, I think that's probably my least favorite if I had to choose one. I do like it, I just think it's kind of a strange listen no matter what context you are listening to it. I just think, again, it's the second song, the other song on the album that I think is a bit indulgent. But I like how it does tell a story about a man cheating on a woman. I think the lyrics are good. It's just maybe they go a bit too far. But I also feel like kind of rambling more about the song. The lyrics take away from the instrumentation too much. Like there's a lot more talking in the beginning, and while the instrumentation gets a lot better and really shines through towards the end, it just takes a while to get there. And I mean, I don't want to cap on the song too much because I still like it. It's something that I'm like, oh, I gotta skip it because I don't feel that way with it. But definitely that and The Black Plague are the hardest songs to get into. So it then moves into the dark yet Latin flavored song, in my opinion, Hotel Hell. This has a vibe similar to Poem by the Sea, but I think it takes a better advantage of the acoustic guitar and includes a wonderful horn solo that uh, adds to the track's sense of hopelessness, which it really feels like a gloomy song to listen to. Like not a I don't want to say it's not a banger, but it's not an upbeat banger. Though its atmosphere is a bit saddening, I think the melody is very memorable, which only makes me want to listen to the track more and more. And the combination of Eric's gloomy lyrics with the band's intimate sound creates this real hellish environment that the song's title captures perfectly. So, way to go, Eric. You're on a roll so far. Following that is what I consider to be the best and the most accessible song on the whole album, Good Times. Now, this has an incredible melody, in my opinion. When I first heard it, I was like, wow, this is like, it really caught my attention more than all the other tracks did. Just because, first off, I was surprised how melodic the second side is compared to the first, but it works so well. Everything about it is just so good. I love the chord progressions, I love the singing. The one thing that took me some time to really get into or appreciate was the whole like transition where it sounds like they're in a casino playing this song or like just hanging out with people. I used to think it was kind of too corny, a little too cheesy, but I do appreciate what they were going for, especially for it being, I guess, a bit exploratory, experimental for 67. But I just think, I don't know, it's just such a great song. I do think the violin has a real anthemic touch to it. And this also might have my favorite lyrics to any of the songs here, as I've had thoughts in the past similar to like this song's subject, like, oh, am I wasting good time on good times, you know? It's a fun song though, and it should have been a hit. I mean, if I feel like it's better than San Francisco Nights, but both songs are bangers. And then even the song that follows, Good Time, is also really good. Anything, for me, Anything kind of has that same vibe as the two songs I mentioned before. They're really more acoustic based, and they have much more melody to them. And I feel like this Eric's delivery on these songs is just so good. And I love how it doesn't really change up, but I like the orchestration, how it builds up throughout it, and then how it gets the drums kind of come in with a little more snap to them. I hate to say snap, but a little more the snare, I'll say. But yeah, that song is also another favorite of mine. And then we close on a song that I don't want to say it's like anticlimactic, but I don't know. I just think it's like an alright song. It's a more bombastic for sure. It's all meat, which kind of makes some more references to other people like Eric Clapton. I think he says Miles Davis. Could be wrong there, but I don't know. I feel like when I get to that song, it doesn't feel like it should have ended the album. In my opinion, it feels like something was missing or something was left out. And I still enjoy the song though. Like it kind of reminds me of Are You Experienced with that garage rock touch, but overall, it's just like a mid song in my opinion. Not to talk down on it so much. So yeah, I mean, with this album, I do think there are some flaws to it, and it's definitely not something you could put on like all the time. But for what it's worth, it has really good moments that you can listen to outside of the album's context, and it's just one of those cool 60s psych albums that you never really hear about. Or at least I never heard about it. Kind of like the deep psychedelic moods, or like, I don't know, something from West Coast pop art experimental band. Like stuff that, for my people my age, you really have to kind of go searching online for until you find like either the album in person, or you just find some people talking about it on like Reddit or so. So yeah, I mean, to give you my stats on this album, my favorite side would probably have to be side one, just because I think it's a little stronger, even though I think side two is more melodic and has my favorite song. I just like the psychedelic blemishes of the first half. They really work well all together. And then my favorite songs, I mean, how many are there on here? 2, 4, 6. I guess so. It's 11. So I'll do my top 4. Top 4 would be Good Times, Winds of Change, San Francisco Nights, and Yes, I'm Experienced. So it's pretty good. 2 on each side, not bad. And I mean, now that I'm holding it, I'll kind of show you the cover. Like I said, even the cover is a bit indulgent, just like, hey, read all this stuff real quick. I don't think it's like it really pulls you in, but it's still intriguing. You know, there's a picture of Eric, he looks dope there. And then it's got some notes kind of talking about their influences and whatnot. Really nice. I like the photo work. And sorry if it seems like I'm like capping on this band, because I don't want to be that way, but I really do like this group, and I think Eric Burdon is a great lyricist and a fantastic singer, so there's me kind of justifying my thoughts. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this record. Hopefully this review was not shitty because didn't really prepare for it as much as I do my other ones, but regardless, I always have fun doing these reviews. So I hope to see you in the next one. I hope to do it with a friend of mine, actually a bandmate of mine. We're gonna be doing something not psychedelic because he's not really into that, but something more punk. So I hope to see you then. Until then, keep on living, keep on listening. Ta-ta, bye.